Sunshine. Welcome to Conversations with Celena, the podcast where we discover inspiration, motivation, and information to help you live your best life. I'm your host, Celena, aka Sunshine, and each week we'll dive into conversations with guests who share their testimonies, insights, and advice. We'll explore topics that uplift, encourage, and empower you to be the best version of yourself you can be. So tune in and let's have some fun while we explore all that life has to offer. Keep it smiling, sunshine, and let's go. Hey, sunshine! Welcome to another episode of Conversations with Celena. I'm your smiling host, Sunshine. I am super excited about today's episode, today's guest. You all will truly be blessed. So please share this video. We'll take a moment just to give you a minute after the introduction. We'll share the video and also give you a moment to share as well, because we want this message to get out, because I'm telling you, you're going to be blessed. Today's guest is Minister Catherine Brown, known as Katie. She was born in Huntington, West Virginia. She spent most of her life traveling the world due to her stepfather being associated in the military for 23 years. Catherine is the proud mother of 3 children, 1 girl and 2 boys. She has her associates in the science of business management. She is also, like I said, known as Minister Katie. She works at Mended Reeds, where they specialize in substance abuse and mental abuse. On Sundays after church, Minister Katie attends a local county jail by ministry to women prisoners. Catherine's earlier this year wrote a book titled It's Not Over, which I have. I got it in the mail and I've already started to read it. It's Not Over. And it's a book about a young lady who went through a dark place in her life, who feared waking up because she had days that felt unpromised to her. One day she allowed drugs to engulf her body while enduring abuse from the father of her children. So nobody can tell it like she can tell it. I'm going to stop right there and I'm going to bring her up to the stage. So y'all, welcome to Conversations with Celena, Minister Katie Brown.
Yes. Hey, Sunshine.
Hey, girl.
I just had to throw that out because I see it so much and it just brightens my day to just, hey, Sunshine.
Hey, Sunshine.
Yes. So again, I want to say thank you again for the opportunity for allowing me to come on his platform. It's amazing just to see the things that God does through us as well as for us. So when God gave me this vision about the book, I'm like, where do I start? Like, what do you want me to talk about? And God just laid it on me to start from what I could remember all the way up to the things I went through. So I'm so thankful. Thank you, sis. So I'm very grateful and thankful for what God is doing for me right now. So just like Celena said, I wrote my first book, which I also have mine with me too. It's Not Over. So It's Not Over is a lot to do with things that we kind of hide in the dark. Some people are embarrassed. Some people don't want to discuss the things that's happened to them, but it's happened. So I had, it was challenging for me for a little bit of it. Some of the chapters were really hard to write, especially struck by abuse. A little bit, just like it said on there, my children's father, I went through abuse with him. I was with him for almost 10 years, and then which led into us going into active use. And that led me to federal prison. So a lot has transpired throughout that time. But one thing I understood that God was showing me in that season of my life, that it wasn't over. You know, it's not over until God says it's over. And we have to remind ourselves that we are created in God's image. You know, we're not perfect. We're all filthy rags. And, you know, just because we have a bad past doesn't make us bad people. And that's one thing that I had to gravitate in, is learning to understand that God has so much more for me, and that I have to share that with the people that are still hiding in darkness. One thing that happened prior, we're going to take it back just a minute. One thing happened prior to my children's father was not knowing my identity. So being sexually touched as a child, I was really young. And then growing up, I lost my virginity at 11, and then it just kind of took off from there. I was constantly finding myself involved with numerous men, having a desire at times, because the things that happened to me as a little girl, having a desire of wanting to mess with females. God deliver me from that. And that took me a very long time to bring that to the surface. Actually, a couple years ago, um, my husband was the first person I really started talking to about things that happened to me. And it's so freeing to know that I'm no longer hiding in darkness or feeling captive to my past. Like, I lived that. I walked through the darkness, but God got the glory. So a little bit about the main thing with It's Not Over is where God had to sit me down. I got indicted back in 2017, federally indicted. And when I surrendered to God and I said, God, I can't do this no more. And I started to just trust in God, started to dive in His Word, started to read, started to pray, started seeking God and asking God, okay, Lord, like, what do you want me to do? God showed me things in the spiritual realm that I didn't even think that were capable. When I was indicted, they weren't letting up off 10 years. I was sentenced to 10, like they were trying to sentence me to 10 years. I didn't take the plea deal. The second time, they were still trying to offer me 10 years. And I'm crying like, Lord, why am I getting hit with this? I've never been in trouble before. I've never had a seatbelt ticket before. Like, why am I getting hit with 10 years? So the more that I continue to stay in His Word, and I got baptized, and I focused on what God was doing with me, and I stopped worrying about what was going on in the background, and I started trusting. All right, Lord, I'm taking my hands off. I'm no longer going to sit here and try to control the aspect of what you're doing with me. I trust you. So the more that I prayed, the more that I seeked Him, I started to be a little bit more direct with my prayers. Um, because getting offered 10 years twice, anybody in the right mind knowing that, like, no, like, I'm there's no way I'm getting hit with 10 years. There's nothing that you could say that I've done that I need 10 years. I was going to go to trial with my case. And I remember one day sitting in my cell and I'm like, Lord, I need you to show me a sign if you don't want me to take my case to trial. And the more that I prayed and I kept seeking, my lawyer came in a week later. And he was like, I don't know how you're tied to the Fed case except people writing statements on you for conspiracy. He said, but I've been praying for you. That's one thing that I look back now is having a God-fearing lawyer. Come on now, him and his wife interceding on my gap and behind me, because I didn't know how to intercede for myself. So that was one thing that was so powerful. And I look back at it and I say, Lord, I thank you for placing the right people in my life. So the more that I continue to seek God, and my lawyer showed up, he said, I've went through all the calls. I checked the thing, like, there's nothing tying you into it. He said, but when I came into my office, there was, there was a paper on the desk and it had showed a phone number with my name on it. And in, Boost Mobile, you can have multiple lines in your name. I knew that wasn't my line. I had a phone number, but the other phone number that they were discovering was not mine, which again, that was of my father's and my kid's father. And I said, that was it. That was my sign, because I prayed for it. So he brought an offer. I signed on 24 to 30 months. And when I went to final sentencing, the lawyer, she went below the guidelines. She gave me 16 months, and with good time, I only did 13 months. So I don't know what you're enduring. I don't know what y'all been through, but when I say God showed up just right when I needed that, I needed that. Because you take it from someone looking at 10 years to signing on 24 to 30 months to only going below the guidelines and getting 16 months, and with good time only doing 13 months. That's nobody but God. Because I know that if I stayed out here, I was going to end up either dead or something worse. So when all that took place, I knew there was an assignment that was attached to my life, and I continuously seek God, because I knew that there was more for an outcome. Like the ones that are in relationship with a drug dealer, the ones that are in relationship with an abusive narcissist, the ones that have went through something as they're in a childhood and that became childhood trauma, the ones that don't know how to get out or who to go to talk to. I'm telling you, you're not alone. You're not alone in this situation. You're not alone. God is showing us something different. And when we tap into the spiritual realm and we say, okay, Lord, I have no control. Lord, I need you to take this. I need you to take this from me because I can't endure this. So the more that I trusted God, the more that I showed up, because we have to put the work in. The problem is people just want that quick fix. I talk about this a lot all the time on my prayer group. Everyone looks at God like he's an ATM. I go to the ATM, take out what I want, and then I go about my day. We got to put some deposits in. We got to deposit prayer time. We got to deposit spent time in our word. We got to deposit speaking life and his word over ourselves. We got to deposit back in instead of trying to reverse it and take back out. Every time you take back out, that's the more or less time you're spending with God. So I always use this parable as all the time. Like I use the ATM because it really is. People get mad at God, like, well, you didn't answer my prayer, or you didn't do this, or you didn't that. But what are your motives? Right? We got to seek God first in the kingdom of righteousness, and all those things will fall into us. But when we just come to him any type of fashion, we're out here doing what we want, how we want, and then we expect God just to lay those blessings in our lap. That's not how that works. We got to put in the work too. And that is one thing that I stressed enough when I put in here for It's Not Over. When I deposited in my yes to God's will that I was going to write this book, I knew it was going to come with some hardships. I knew it was going to come with so many questionings. I was telling Celena about this a little bit, that people talk about me a lot, and that's okay. I'm okay. If you ain't talking about something, then I'm not doing something right. So I'm glad that people are talking. I want you to talk. But if you want to talk about something, talk about the goodness of God and how he turned the situation around for me. He didn't do it. He didn't have to do it, but he did it. You know, and the more that I continuously share things that I've went through, you can't tell me nothing about myself that I didn't live. I lived it. I've done it. I've been in it. I'm not perfect. Again, a lot of people can't say that they've lost their virginity at 11 because some people have went through a series of I'm waiting till marriage, or I've always been taught to wait. Well, I wasn't taught that, and I definitely wasn't taught to get in a situation that things started happening to me as a little girl that surfaced a lot of the stuff that happened to me. Some of us go through that trauma of the sexual abuse and the sexual trauma at a very young age that leads into our adulthood. But in order for you to heal from those wounds, I don't know who I'm talking to right now in the name of Jesus, but in order for you to heal from the wounds that put pressure on your back when you were younger, my God, you are going to have to release some things off of you. You got to release some of those people off of you. You got to forgive, not for them, but you got to forgive for yourself. The same way that Jesus forgave us, the same way we got chance after chance after chance, even when we are being disobedient, is the same way we've got to do the same thing for those folks that hurt us. The ones that put the daggers in our back, you got to forgive them. We got to walk in righteousness. And in order for us to be at the highest potential that God has for us, we got to forgive, love, show kindness, care for one another, pray for each other, intercede for one another. You got to, because that's what took me to write this book. And when I was telling Celena about this, when I went to chapter 4 about struck by abuse, y'all, it was hard for me. It was hard for me to discuss the things that my kids' fathers put me through because I stayed. You know, mentally, I was gone years ago, but physically, my feet just wouldn't move. I stayed in that relationship because I felt like it was the right thing to do. I tried to be the fixer-upper. I had kids with this man. I thought I could change him. Can't nobody change a person but God, and a person that's willing to want the change. So we got to make efforts and showing up for ourselves even when nobody does. So I thank you. I thank you for letting me share a little bit about that testimony of my book and a little insight on there, Celena.
Girl, you got comments rolling in.
Girl.
So, Goodness gracious, I don't even know where to start. I just want to say I'm gonna start with the forgiveness where you ended up. Like we definitely have to forgive, and it's not for them; it is for us, so
Yes.
that we can live our full potential. And sometimes we are caught up in these relationships where it is so hard to get out of because
Yes.
I think where we came from as a child and not knowing some things, we
Yes.
go and gravitate into these relationships that are so unhealthy, that are
Yes.
toxic, they're narcissistic, they're abusive, just so many things that are unhealthy. But like you said, you left a long time ago, but your feet physically just would
Yes.
not move,
Amen.
and you lose yourself in other people, and that's such a dangerous place when we
Yes.
lose who we are, because first of all we never really knew who we were.
Absolutely.
Yes, and then we opened up our arms and our heart to these people that just completely
Yes.
manipulated and abused us, which it's almost like it keeps taking you back. You keep going
Hmm.
back because you remember when, and it's the same feeling of neglect and abuse and abandonment and
Yes.
all of those feelings that just rise up that make you feel that unworthiness that you felt.
Yes.
And so then you do things that you're not proud of, that you
Hmm.
really don't want to talk about, but there's freedom in the
Amen.
transparency.
Yes.
And that's what I'm learning to do myself, is to be more transparent about things versus hiding behind them, being
Yeah.
ashamed of them, being
Yeah.
ashamed of them. So, um, oh, is there echo for me? Mm, can you hear the echo?
I can't.
I'm sorry. Let's see. Can you hear it now? I am so sorry. Can you still hear it? Sometimes it does that. So I put you on mute for a minute and then I'm trying to see if that went away. Okay, so I put you on mute and I'll take you right back off mute. But I probably lost my train of thought with that. Um oh, it's better. Okay, thank y'all so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay, very good, very good. So is there anything else that you wanted to tell us, like maybe okay, good. Thank y'all. Okay, good, good, good. Maybe like I know you say you got out of it just by prayer and all of this stuff, but like when you're really in the midst of it, like how did you find yourself getting into the arms and staying there and then moving into writing this book? Because I know like for me, I feel like it's such a struggle. I heard you say the chapter about abuse was the hardest one to write. Seeing that stuff on paper seems like it brings it to just reality all over again. And then it's more concrete because then like there's no taking it back. Once it's out there and you have to be willing to stand 10 toes down in your truth. So I guess I'm just wondering, like, how did you get here? Because so many people are struggling with the things that happened to them in their past, with the things that they just recently came out of. And it's like to hear someone else's testimony, which your testimony is so powerful, but to hear that, also share. We know you pray. We know we spend time with God, just not go to the ATM, but just a little bit more in detail about like somebody that's really struggling with this right now, the past, the present, the abusive relationships, the abuse that happened when they were younger. So I'm gonna take you off mute and put myself on mute.
Okay. So, as again, I have not always been in the church either. Like when I stayed in that relationship, it was just what I was accustomed to. It was easier just to stay because anytime I try to go, when you're dealing with a narcissist, you are dealing with everything that comes with it. Right. So, like when I go to work, he would show up. He would cause a scene. If I'd go to the store, he'd show up. If I try to hide somewhere after he like put his hands on me, he would show up because he knew the places that I would go. One thing that I've realized is I had to fight back. So when we were in active use, I just remember one time I was sitting in, actually I jumped in the back seat because I knew he was going to hit me. He was driving. He took the charger cord and he just slashed it across my chest. And I remember just some type of courage came over me and I just started to fight back. And I'm not saying that you always have to physically fight back, but if we're being really real with the situation, sometimes we have to get the courage to stand up boldly for ourselves. So when I got the courage to stand up for myself and I started to fight back, I started to realize I had more strength in me that I didn't think I was capable of. So I had to, in order for me to go to where and move in the operation that God had me into, I had to let that situation go. My friend wrote on here just a little bit in the comments about situationships. I started to enable situationships with the same type of behaviors because that's what I was used to. If you are stuck right now in an abusive relationship, let me tell you, for one, you are not alone. For two, I'm going to tell you, you always want to have a hotline. You need to have somebody that you can trust, that you need to be able to get a hold of, and you need to be able to have an exit plan. So if you are going to walk away from this situation, have an exit plan put in place with somebody that you can trust. You can't just trust anybody with that information because it's not for everyone, but you need to have someone you can turn to. Hey, I'm ready to walk away. But you got to be ready to walk away, because if you walk away before you, like again, how I did, mentally I was gone, but physically my feet wouldn't move. If you try to physically move before the time is right, it could get worse. So I just want to encourage somebody that is going through it right now, even myself. If you know Celena yourself, please get on there, get my contact information from her. Please get in touch with me. One thing she said is, I work in a field of substance abuse and mental abuse. We see clients come in and out that have endured so much, but I want to encourage and assist, if you guys, whoever is going through it, that who would allow me to. I don't want you to go through this alone. That's not what we're here for. We're here to encourage, uplift, and uproot somebody to get out of a toxic situation that was meant to destroy them. If you do not continue, if you continuously stay there, like I said for myself, I should have been dead a long time ago. But God, but I had to surrender and let go of the past. And I had to let it go, y'all. Like when God took that away and put me in prison and separated us, I had to stand on obedience, because a couple times when I got out, I kept trying to talk to my kid's father. We were trying to work things out, but something came a hold of me that said, if you do this again, no telling what's going to happen to you this time. So if you are struggling, and I know how embarrassing it may be, you might have friends that you go and tell, I'm done with him. He put his hands on me. He cheated on me. He did this, that, fourth, and the other. How many times we tell that story and then we end up back in that abusive relationship? How many times we go backwards? And then how many times does our family, friends, and loved ones get so irritable and irritated listening to your side of the story because you keep going back? Find somebody that is trustworthy, that you can trust in. If you're seeking counseling, if you have a therapist, if you go to a pastor, whoever you are seeking, find someone that's trustworthy and have you an exit plan. Because I'm telling you, if you try to do this on your own and just run, you're going to run back into their arms. You don't want to do that. I've done it time and time again. Like I told y'all, I went through it for almost 10 years. 10 years. And I remember my older sister telling me, when she was in her abusive relationship, I said, how did you know when to leave? And I will never forget these words, and this is an encouragement I'm going to leave to someone else. I can't tell you when to leave. You will know. You will know when you are tired and sick and tired of being sick and tired, tired of being beat on, tired of being cheated on, tired of dealing with the what ifs. You will know when you are tired and you won't go back. And that's what I had to go through. You will know, because my mentally leaving lined up with my physical leaving. It took me a minute, and I had to go through. And I don't, sometimes God will allow us to go through these things to help someone else. I'm not encouraging you guys to stay that long if you're going through it right now. But what I am encouraging is that you guys get the proper help that you need. Seek the right counseling, seek the right person, seek the right guidance when it comes to an abusive relationship or a toxic situation. Or again, if you're in a situationship, if you start enabling behaviors that you've seen from your past, you need to go. You start to bleed your past into the new things when you don't properly take care of yourself first. So, whoever is out there that is struggling, whether you're going through mental abuse, whether you're going through physical abuse, whether you're going through a trauma bond, whatever the case may be, understand one thing, that God did not bring you this far to let you go now. And in order for you to get to where you need to be, you got to trust first in God. You got to trust that He is going to take you exactly where He said He's going to take you. And it's going to be a process. Nothing comes overnight. Things are not handed to us. We got to put in the work. We got to show up for ourselves.
Okay, had to take myself off mute. You're you're so right about that, and it's like um, I've went back numerous times. Um, I was just thinking about your sister telling you that she can't tell you when to leave. Um, you will know because I
Yep.
put that up on the screen. And a lot of times the guilt comes when we do overshare with friends and family of what's going on behind the closed doors, and then you don't leave or you go back. And so those trauma bonds are for real thing. You know,
Yes.
you just get caught up with people and you don't know how to detach yourself. So thank you for sharing that. I do appreciate it. Oh, she's put up your group. So
That's
yes,
you.
I definitely, when you come off a break, I want to be able to come in and see the Friday nights that you have. I think it started again because I can hear it this time. Okay. Um, so I want to be able to join in, and so that is the Facebook group that Minister Katie has, Women's House of Hope and Love, and it's every Friday, right? 6 p.m. Hold on, let me take y'all mute. There you go.
Yes, every Friday, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So I know people are all over the world. So yes, that is Eastern Standard Time every Friday. Just like I was telling Celena, we every January I take a break just to wind down, get myself together. Prepare to what God has for me to share with you ladies. So this is a Women's House of Hope and Love, something that the Lord had revealed to me when I was in prison. So if you guys are interested, any woman that is interested, please go ahead and y'all can click over there, and you guys can join that with us.
Thank you so very much. I can't wait to February because I'm gonna be in attendance. I don't know if you see that guy. What is his name? He said the church van is fixed and in attendance.
Uh-uh.
Oh my goodness, I cannot. Terry K, I think is his name. He always be just rating food and stuff. And so the church van will be fixed and we will be in attendance on
Yes.
Friday night. But I wanted to ask you too, because I know when I was reading last night in the book, you were talking about being a parent to your children and how the substance abuse just really took over and you couldn't. And I know for me, I have some severe mommy guilt.
Yep.
So tell, tell us about that, the mommy guilt, and how you feel like the relationship between you and your children and your parents were during this time of struggle.
Yeah. I always try not like it's really hard to talk about this part. I always get emotional with this one, but um before I got into active use, my kid's father had been. Growing up on a military base, like I didn't know what marijuana was until I was 18. So getting with a person who's already been in active use, I didn't know what the signs were to look for. So it had been years into our relationship. Like he would do little things like the smoking the marijuana and all that, the minor things that like everyone seemed to be doing in college, but I didn't know how in debt the addiction was, until a couple years in where he kind of just didn't care. So I was just always taking care of our kids. I had my first two back to back, and then a year after that I had our third one, and I was just I was the one they called the breadwinner. Like it's not something I ever wanted to be labeled as. Like it's time consuming, it's stressful, but I've taken care of our kids. He'd be gone if he's out getting high or out doing his own thing. I worked full time. I started going to school full time, and I was raising three kids full time by myself, and it was hard. Some days he'd come home, some days he wouldn't. Some days he'd take my car. So when I ended up getting involved in the drugs, I started to get a taste of what he was going through. And when I was doing methamphetamines, and at first it was just me doing it because I was feeling like I was self-destructing. Their dad left me for another woman, and I was, wanting him to come back. I didn't think he would actually leave, but he did. So he came back. We'd get high and stuff, and still get involved with each other. Well, I started getting really small, and I've always struggled with my weight. So when I got really skinny, that became a bigger addiction, and it just took over. If anyone's ever experienced methamphetamines or went through that drug or done research on that drug, it is one powerful drug. The hallucinating started, forgetting things started, me feeling like everyone was turning their back on me. Um, I wasn't capable of taking care of the kids. So little by little, they started becoming late, like they were late for school. Like I'd be so high, staying up all night, and then I'd fall asleep. And then they're like late for school, late for school, late for school. So my mom, she started getting them. And then little by little, it'd go from a couple of days to a week, maybe 2 weeks. I just started leaving them there. I started feeling like my kids were better off with my mom than they were with me. And then, so when their dad got indicted, he was indicted before I was. And at that time, I moved away for a minute. I tried to move to South Carolina. I couldn't find a job, and I came back. So I eventually found a job. I was like, I got to get myself together. I've got to get myself together for these kids. I got to do right by these kids. And I did good for a little bit. And then, of course, I opened back up the avenue, letting their dad come back in. And so we started getting high. So I'm working full time. I'm still getting high on the side. And then he gets indicted. So now he's out of my way. I'm like, great. Like, I can still get high. I can do my thing. I don't have nobody in my way. And it started getting worse, to the point that I just, like, pretty much my mom was threatening to take full custody of my kids, and I just didn't care. I said, go ahead. Like, they're better off there. So that was a lot of guilt. Um, Towards the end, when I got indicted, I really felt the pressure. I felt the pressure of I need to do right by them, because I didn't know what time I was looking at. And I really didn't feel the guilt until I was federally indicted. But the first time I was indicted, I got home on a surety bond. I came home after 2 weeks of being in the county jail. They let me home on a surety bond. And that's just to let me out until, we go to court. So I did good for 9 weeks when I was out on my surety bond, and then I messed it up. And I'll never forget this. Carter, my youngest at the time, Carter was 3 years old, and he was going to a home daycare. And he was like, okay, mommy, I'll see you later. And I knew I wasn't seeing him later. I didn't know when I was going to see my kids. I didn't know. I was looking at all that time. I just didn't know. I didn't know I was coming home. I didn't know how to be a good parent, because I was being such a horrible parent to my kids, because I kept putting their dad first. Um, they watch him beat me. They watch him talk to me crazy. They watch me get dragged down the halls. And I'm sorry. They had to go through the same trauma. My kids endured that. And when I came home, I didn't apologize. People like ask me that all the time, like, why are you not apologizing? I can't apologize for what I did. I can only show them what I'm going to do now. And this was the first time when I came home. I was home for 2 weeks after I got out of federal prison. I got the job I have now. I've been with this company for 5 years, but I got the job. And then within 2.5 months, I got us a place. And it was our first place of our own, that their dad or nobody was around. It was just us. And I started little by little, I got to show them. We started attending church together. We started praying together. They would ask me questions, even at a young age. I never lied to them. I had to show them that no matter what mommies went through, what I've endured, there's always greater on the other side of the tunnel. So now that they're getting older, especially my daughter is about to turn 13, like I was telling Celena yesterday, I have to constantly educate her on her worth. Every day, every morning we go to school, we pray in the mornings and we do positive affirmations, because I don't ever want my children to feel like they are less than, or less than what they are capable of achieving in life, just because they've seen what I was put through. So yes, I did feel the guilt and the shame a lot, but when I came home, it was everything just seemed so natural. Nobody was in the way to distract us. And you have to keep in mind, y'all, be careful who you guys are idolizing. Don't, that person, that relationship, when that's what I was doing. That was my God. Their dad was my God. God did not have no say so in my household. That was my God. I chased him. I worshiped him. I done what he asked me to do. I did everything. Plus more. I did it all. But I had to understand, nor him, people, places, or things are my God. I serve one God. I trust God. And I trust what he's doing with us. Even today. Even today, my kids look at me and they don't see the addict, the recovering, or the addict I used to be, or the mother that endured the abuse. They see a strong woman who decided to get her life together to be the best mother to them.
Well, honey, that's what we see. I had to take myself off mute to say that is what we see, because
Yeah,
if you were not telling this, you don't look like what you've been through. You know, we always say, "Oh, I don't look like what I've been through."
yeah,
I would have no clue. All I
yeah,
see is Minister Katie Brown. That's it.
yes,
All I
yes,
see. All this other stuff, I'm like, what? Like
yeah,
it just don't even fit. And I know when you look
yeah.
in the mirror, it don't fit that either. You're like,
No,
I'm definitely not who I used to be.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
So tell us about, since I'm saying Minister Katie Brown, for the rest of us
Yes,
keeping hope alive.
amen.
Tell us about the knight in shining armor, the wonderful husband that you have now that
Yes,
knows everything. Because sometimes we try to go into these relationships, keep what happened in the past, and then it still surfaces and comes to haunt us. So I'm putting myself back on mute so you can tell us about moving into this beautiful relationship that
yes.
you have now.
Okay, so my husband, which again, if you have been on my prayer group, my husband did our last prayer group together. We did submission for the mission. Um, and it's crazy. Again, like I've only been with my husband for almost 2 years, right? Like total. Like we got married last year, but we only been together. And what you know, you just know that you know. So I had spent like a year prior. My friend Cornelia, who's on here, she can testify because I always went to her. She's always like, I was just so disobedient for a little while, even after being in the church and being home. I kept finding myself in relationship after relationship, trying to find validation, trying to find someone to love me. And um, so a year prior to meeting my husband, I just spent time with God, not having sex with the guy, because I was still indulging in all that mess. I was a minister too, and I'm like, here I am still indulging, like all these secrets and these things that I hid. I was still indulging out there in the world, and so for almost a whole year, I just didn't. I didn't mess with no one. I didn't communicate with God. My phone was dry, and I was fine with that. And I'm telling y'all right now, like if I didn't spend that time with God for almost a year, I would have missed my blessing. So here I am at church and I see this man and I'm, worshiping on the side. I look over in the middle pews and I'm like, man, like that guy looks good. Like, but I was too scared to say a word. I always talk to everybody, but I was too scared to talk to him. So I didn't say nothing. And then half the time I was like up there where the altar call, because I did altar call. And I just remember standing up there and I saw him walk up. I'm like, please don't come to me. Please don't come to me. Please don't come to me. So he went to someone else and he, got the Holy Ghost speaking in tongues, got off. But like when he got off the ground, it was like an angel. It's just like that moment. And I was just like, all I could do is like I'm doing now to y'all. I was just smiling like, yeah. And so some time went on, like about a week, and I get a message on Facebook. And I'm like, it's not a rich, you know how we always get like, hey, I miss you. Hey, Ma. Hey, beautiful. Hey, this. Hey, you. All the sun, when someone's trying to holler at you. But I got a message from him on Facebook, and it said, hey, how are you? And I said, who is this? Like, I didn't recognize the name. I didn't know his name. And I tried to go to his page. Well, he didn't have the social media. He just had Messenger. And then he was like, I'm such and such uncle. Well, the girl that I was friends with, we just have never talked about our uncle. He used to be in a marriage before, so we've never talked about this uncle, or I just never paid attention. So I call up my friend instantly. I'm like, "Hey, this person said he's your uncle." She's like, "Girl, the guy that you always staring at church." I'm like, "Oh, okay." So, anyways, we get to chit chat, and he said, "I know this sounds weird." He said, "But I had a dream about you." He's like, "And I just wanted to check on you." And you know me, I don't even know this man. I'm like, "Yeah, I'm great." You guys, in reality, I was drowning, living paycheck to paycheck, trying to keep my head afloat, trying to be a mother, trying to work, trying to coach, trying to go to school. I was drowning, y'all. Like, I had went through all that stuff prior to him coming, and I was just like any other person would say when someone asks, "How are you doing?" "I'm fine. I'm okay. I'm good." Anyway, I wasn't. So we started communicating on there, but the Lord instructed me and him, like I wasn't giving him my phone number. So we chit chatted for a while on Messenger. And then we started video chatting. And this was so different. It was nothing I've ever experienced. He started praying for me, y'all. We started doing Bible studies together. And it just hit off from there. And I knew at the beginning God didn't want us to get involved because he was still doing work on both of us. We still had struggled with the sexual part of us, like we always indulge in sex, and he had just recently came back to the church. So looking back at it now, if I can educate someone who is looking for their kingdom man, listen to God's voice if he says not yet. Because although, we went a couple months before we actually sexually got involved, it started to mess a lot of things up. We started to endure a lot of things. Y'all, even when we got engaged, he took my ring back from me because there was stuff from my past that I was bleeding into my relationship. Same thing for him because we weren't being obedient, and we had to stop everything we were doing and go, and we had to fast. We had to pray. We had to seek God. But it's got to be two people who are willing to work at this marriage, to work at this relationship. And that's what we did. And now, like, I look at this man is so good to my kids. My kids love and adore him. I thank God because I was blessed with someone who's financially stable. And it's still hard for me. Don't get it wrong. Where I've been doing it for so long, it's hard for me to ask for help. For any of y'all ladies that miss independent, that don't want to ask, I can do bad by myself. I don't need nobody's help. I can do this. When you are married to a good man, a godly man, a kingdom man, like on my phone, it still says kingdom man. When you are married to the one that God has assigned to your life, don't ever feel ashamed to ask. Every single day, because my husband works out of town, every single day since day one, he texts me, "Good morning, beautiful." Every single morning. And times if we're here, he might say it to me while we're just laying in the bed. But he's always been consistent. Find you somebody that's actually, you don't have to find nobody because the Bible tells us a man that finds a wife finds a good thing. Let him find you. Continue to seek God in everything that you do. Continue to ask. Be detailed. I was very detailed in my prayers in that whole year spending time with God, what I wanted out of a kingdom man. I knew it wasn't going to be this beautiful package that came. I knew that. But I didn't think I was going to go through what I did. But that's another part of my testimony that we did go through it. So now we can shed some light on how people don't need it, how you don't go through that like we did. Excuse me. We want we want to show love to people. My husband, I'm so grateful for him because it made it easy for me to be vulnerable. My husband has went through a lot of stuff in his life too, but he never judged me from my past. He might ask questions or how it made me feel, but that you got to have a safe place to be vulnerable with your significant other. So I just encourage anyone, if you're in your waiting season right now and you're seeking and desiring a husband, a godly man, a good man, one that's not going to financially just provide, but going to be the sole provider of the household. He is the head of the household. My husband demonstrates that every single day. He leads this house. He leads me, and in prayer, there was habits and addictions that I held on to. Drinking, I was holding on to drinking wine all the time. I stopped that when I got with him. I was smoking cigarettes since I got with my kid's father, since back in 2010. I stopped that. Like, God is really good. And God is so good that He placed a good man in my life to help lead me in the right direction. So I just want to encourage anyone out there, if you are still seeking for your kingdom man, don't give up. Continue to pray for him. Pray for him even when you don't even know what he looks like right now, because God is preparing him. From the words of my friend Cornelia, He is preparing him.
Girl, I'm like, yes, indeed. He preparing him, he preparing you, he
Yep.
preparing me. And sometimes we get caught up in the package because I heard you say
Mm-hmm.
you're looking for it to be wrapped up in
That
this
beautiful, like
with a bow on it, and it
on a
don't come
bow.
like that. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Well, that was a beautiful, oh my God, so encouraging, so inspiring. And oh, there's my sister. She said, love it. That was just so inspiring because we all have been through so much in life. And like I said, you are beautiful inside and out. I love that God has sent you that kingdom godly good man to be that head of the household for you and for your children, and that they love him, because that's so important too, because we can't leave the little babies out, you know what I mean? And that he loves you and checks on you even with all the deep dark secrets that you had. And that's the key word, had. And finding someone that you can have a safe space with, girl, that's like you done hit the whole jackpot. Financially stable, provider, protector, and you know everything about me. Like, can't nobody come to you and be like, let me tell you, you can't tell me nothing about Minister Katie Brown. You can't tell me nothing.
That's my friend Cornelia.
Yes, indeed. Kingdom jackpot. That's what I'm talking about. Woo, woo. Yes. And you just don't even know who all you have touched on today, because the one great thing that I love about these videos is that they are here. They're
Yeah.
here for the listeners that's on the live and the people to come, 5 days, 5 months, 5 years from now,
Yes.
that you will still be able to speak your testimony, your truth about the dark place, the drugs, the
Yeah.
indictment, the federal penitentiary. I mean, the ministry that you have now, the family that you have now.
Yes.
You don't even hear all of the
Yeah.
stuff. Lord, let me just give it back to you. Do you
Yeah.
see what you have overcome?
Amen.
You
Yes.
are like the scripture, more than a conqueror, like walking, living, breathing. You are more than a conqueror.
Yes.
Yes, it was, Tierra. I can't wait for you to come on,
I
girl.
can't wait, but listen, I can't wait for Tierra to come on. I'm talking about, I don't mean to gloat and take this from me, but Tierra, this is going to be phenomenal. I cried reading one of her books, so I know it helped me with a lot of things, and depression from A to Z, that like shed some light on it. So I can't wait for that one too.
Yes, I
Amen.
cannot wait. And like I said, now tell us where we can get your book.
So this is on Amazon, so you can get it on Amazon, and they also have it on Kindle Fire. So if you're some people who don't like the hard books in hand, you can just get the on Kindle on there. You can have it in this
It
one.
came quick too. It came quick. Let me tell
Yeah,
you.
it does come quick. So this is on Amazon. You can get it there, and then I will leave you guys with this. Right now, I'm in the process of the second part of this book. So this one's it's not over. The second book is going to be titled How I Got Over. So stay tuned for that. That is going to be more details, more indiscreet of things that we go through and how we work to process and get over those things. So I will be back.
Yes, and when you release it, come on back to Conversation with
Yes,
Selena so
yes,
we can talk about it.
yes.
Now, who is Britt Britt?
I think one of Cornelia's friends. Oh, I think it's Brittany. Hey, Brittany.
Oh, okay, okay. She must be tagging her. Okay.
Yep.
Okay, very good, very good. So
Mhm.
yes, whenever the new book comes out, be sure to
Yes.
come back to Conversation with Selena. We appreciate you spending your time with us on this Saturday morning, sharing your testimony, sharing your
Yes.
truth. You are absolutely
Amen.
an amazing woman of God, and I'm so thankful to be
Yes.
connected to you, girl. You
Me
never know what
too.
God gonna do in this
I'm
season.
telling you, won't he do it?
Oh no, you good. You know, just tag them, honey. Tag them because they need to hear it. So
Yes.
we're gonna end this live. Y'all be sure to share it. Go to Conversations with Selena on all platforms. Follow me. Also, the website is selenathomas.net. Thank you
Mhm.
all so much for your continued support. I love you so much.
Yes.
Minister Katie, you hang on the line and we will
Okay.
see you all later. Share a smile. Oh, where is it located? So the book is on Amazon. It's called It's Not Over. The new book has not come out yet. She has a Facebook group, and it is, what's the name of the Facebook group again?
Women's House of Hope and Love. Stephanie, if you're on Selena's page, what I'll do when we're done, I'll put the actual link because before I got married, it's under Catherine L. Brown. So what I'll do is just put the link on Selena's page so you guys can go directly from the link to Amazon.
Oh, where is she located? Where are you located?
Oh, where am I located? I'm in Ohio.
Okay, okay. Thank you for inviting me to and welcoming and inviting
Yeah.
me and welcoming to the family. Thank you, thank you. All right, she's in Ohio. All right, thank you. So yes, y'all be sure to share a smile and
Yes.
spread some sunshine. Mwah.
Yes.
Till next time, we'll be back tonight. We will be back tonight at 7 o'clock. Shane is going to tell his testimony about his
Ooh.
trip in New Orleans on New Year's Day. All right, so I will be back live tonight, 7 o'clock Central Time. Be sure to come back and be right here with Sunshine.
Ooh.
And keep it smiling, Sunshine.
Yeah. I will be back then.